Hi everyone, and happy St. Patrick's Day, which my calendar says that it is, even though I've lost all track of days of the week and national holidays because of the coronavirus and our social isolation, which I realize is supposed to be social distancing, but because I live alone, it's basically social isolation unless you count my hamster, which Periclete's doing well. She's not worried about the virus or the economy or anything that humans are worried about. She's doing great, and just ignorance is bliss, I guess, when you're a hamster. Um, But I want to do a quick update since I have a lot of time on my hands now. Um, just with letting you all know what my semester's been like since the last time I updated, which I don't remember where that was. So this semester's been crazy. Way busier at the front end, which is extremely abnormal for law school classes. We don't have any assignments during the entire semester until the final exam. And so your entire grade is, your final exam and attendance, basically. So you have to read for class and be prepared to answer questions so that you can get a good attendance score. But other than that, you can just chill. And sometimes the professors will tell you who's on call when, and they won't cold call, which then they just grab names out of nowhere. So you usually know, oh, I don't actually have to read this week. So it can be actually kind of chill. Even though people talk about law school being really intense and scary, it's sometimes not. But this semester has been different because, oh my gosh. So one class doesn't have a final exam, it's a writing class, and writing classes are just death. And so there's an assignment due pretty much every week, which they're good assignments, but every week. You can't not do them. And then another class has a final exam, but the professor's like, you know what, final exams don't really help that much with actually gauging how much you really know, which she's correct. I acknowledge she's correct. But then she's like, so I'm gonna have you do all this other stuff instead. And we're like, wait. So we have a bunch of assignments for that. Then my other class, it does have a normal final exam, but also the professor is a stickler for everyone be prepared to discuss all the cases. And he cold calls and doesn't give you any heads up. And then if you have to pass, if you're not ready to talk about the case, then you are responsible for choosing one of your other classmates to take that case that you're supposed to talk about, which he says should be an incentive for us because no one wants to be that person who's like, yeah, I'm not ready. I'm going to put you on the spot. And he's right. That is a great incentive to make us all read. So we'd read, which every week, which isn't, we shouldn't complain about that because that should be expected of us. But it's a lot. And then I'm also getting the rest of my credits from my externship, which is the only difference between an externship and an internship is that one is for class credit, one's not. And it really only matters for financial aid purposes. But so consider an internship if that makes more sense. But I'm externing with the AG's office. It's fantastic. I'm learning a lot. I'm getting to write some examination questions for a grand jury hearing and some. I got to look at my first autopsy, which was great. It was actually, yeah, there's a lot of blood, which if you know me, sometimes that gets to me. Blood's not always, doesn't, I don't always do all that. But this was fine, I think, because I was focusing. I wasn't just, there's a whole, theory I have behind when blood, makes me feel faint or not. And this didn't. But, so I'm looking at the pictures and they're very methodical. Because, the ME is there from both the forensic side of it and then from the actual health side of it, and they're taking the pictures in tandem with each other and it's all very methodical. And so I'm click 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 watching different parts of the body be it's fine, and then all of a sudden it's cut open and there are all the organs, and it just went straight from not cut open to cut open. And I don't know why I thought that there might be some kind of transition or warning, because it doesn't make any sense. There's no need to take a picture of the scalpel to be hey, get ready, it's about to be it doesn't make sense. But I expected that, so I clicked in the next picture and all of a sudden there are the organs and everything, and I'm wow. And spun out of my chair. It's a spinny chair, so spun once in my chair. I'm okay. And I went back to it and it was fine. It's just organs are a lot more colorful than I thought they would be. I thought that was just in pictures, textbooks to illustrate the different. I didn't think they'd actually be different colors, but they were. So that's really cool to know that. So yeah, autopsy, examination questions. I'm also doing a lot of research on mental health in general because Nevada just passed a bill. It's really exciting. That's going to. Actually, I'm not going to try to explain it because I don't know it well enough to explain it correctly, probably. So, but one of the potential dangers of this bill is that we need to have more mental health services for ex-convicts. And we either don't have many services, or if we do, we don't know what they are. And by we, I mean like the government. So to be able to recommend people to go to different services, like we can't really do that if you don't know what services are there. So I'm supposed to do some research into that, which is pretty fun, and has led to a lot of other random research on mental health and violence and criminology in general, which is awesome. Also because I'm using it for a story, because as a side note, I'm trying to write a story about the mental deficiency defense, which is like the technical term for what's commonly thought of as the insanity defense, which is a really interesting defense. And I'm having so much fun researching it. And yeah, what was I talking about? The AG's office. Anyway, so yeah, I'm also doing research on like gangs in prisons, which that's like I knew that happened, but I didn't realize how big of a deal like violence in a prison is, and smuggling and just all this stuff going on in there. It's crazy. So I'm learning a lot about that side of things, which is awesome because law school doesn't really talk about what happens when someone's convicted. And I think that's actually a big problem because you have people who want to go be prosecutors and they're very aware of like the sentencing requirements, but they're not aware of all the unintended consequences of someone spending even just a couple of days in a detention center, let alone the unintended consequences of someone actually being in prison. So I think it's really cool to research that. And it also does connect to my other research, which is about safe harbor laws, which is what I'm researching as part of a note for our journal, our law school journal, a note being like a student written article, but it's not an article, it's a note. That's just the terminology. So it's about safe harbor laws, which are laws that prevent minors from being prosecuted for solicitation or prostitution crimes, because of course a minor can't consent to those activities, so they're technically a victim, not a criminal. Problem is, our current safe harbor laws are overly simplistic, and I think that they're really only addressing the recent trauma from the exploitation and not the underlying trauma from these minors' backgrounds, which that's usually pretty extensive trauma, and it usually leads to sort of delinquent coping mechanisms and habits that precede the sexual exploitation. And some people would actually say that the sexual exploitation is a symptom of this underlying trauma and sort of delinquent behaviors. And so basically we're addressing the symptom but not the root problem, which is better than nothing, but we can do much better than we are. And so I've been researching that and like meeting so many incredible people who just have this passion for making a difference. And I'm learning a lot from them and trying to keep them in my contacts so I can call them up later and be like, hey, here's an idea, or I need help with this thing, or how can I help you? And it's very exciting. Networking. And then what else has been going on? That's journals. It's crazy. Also mock trial. So our actual competition got canceled because of the virus, which is probably wise, but also obviously disappointing because we worked really hard on it. I was very excited. But I did get to do an actual I got to do a mock trial in front of judges. So that's nice. But it was weird because so we had our in-school competition, which is where 1Ls, our first year students try out to get on the team, and they had one team drop out last minute, so we needed a ghost team just so that the competitors would have another team to go against, so we'd have an even number so everyone could be matched. And so we threw together a team of those of us who were already on the school's team, including me. I volunteered because I'm like, this sounds like so much fun. I love mock trial. And then it was great, but it was awkward because like I read the packet like the day before the competition, threw together some like questions and sort of a theory and presented it to the judges, and like half of us are wearing jeans, like we're a mess. But we had some good moments. We had one cross examination that took 15 minutes, but it was so entertaining. Yeah, it was really fun. I just love mock trials, so any excuse to do it I will take. Yeah, and then let's see. Other than that, I've also been helping volunteering in kind of two big capacities that matter a lot to me. One is with our church, with the youth group. I'm leading a group of 7th grade girls. I think I mentioned it before, but I'm mentioning it again because it's still happening and still a big part of my life. My co-leader, Maddie, moved to California to be with her family, so I got a new co-leader who's a 10th grade science teacher, so that's super cool. Although we miss Maddie a lot, especially the girls, because they had her for like a year. But we're transitioning, except now it's weird because of the virus again, so but God is sovereign over viruses and youth groups. And then my other volunteering big opportunity is with Purchase Not for Sale, which I've been volunteering with them for a while now too. But in the past, that mostly looked like street outreach, which is where we go on usually like weekends from like 12 to at night to 2 in the morning, and we walk on the strip and we talk to sex workers and just try to build a relationship, build trust, so that if and when they ever need anything, they know that they can reach out to us. So that's been amazing. But now I'm volunteering in a different capacity where I'm going to the program space, because the program space is for minors, not adults, minors who are coming out of kind of the game or the life, and they're ones who have been recommended to us by one of the judges. And so these girls choose to come and be part of our program, where they take classes, get counseling, and all this stuff. It's really amazing. Um, and so my job initially was to be like a tutor for math, but now it's expanded kind of to just being a like, I don't know, a general volunteer where I'm just there from like 9 to 12ish, and I supervise the girls while they do their coursework, and then just try to connect with them and be like another support system for them, I guess, which has been incredible for so many reasons. Seeing what God's doing is very exciting. Being able to partner with people who care passionately about this issue and are educated is amazing. Because there are a lot of people, especially in Las Vegas, who are passionate about the issue. There are not very many who've actually tried to educate themselves about how to be effective in making a difference. And then the girls themselves, obviously talking to them, like some of it's just completely heartbreaking. But I can also see like what God's doing in them and see there's so much hope for them. And so that's exciting in the middle of all the kind of sort of darkness and sadness. So I think that's pretty much everything going on in my life right now. Which on paper is perhaps not the most thrilling, but I'm having so much fun, and I think I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. So yeah, that's me. I miss all of you back in Idaho, all of you in Las Vegas. I kind of miss you too, because I haven't seen you forever because we're all in lockdown. But I'm thinking of you. Paraclete says hi. I'm not gonna wake her up. I woke her up a while ago to take pictures of her, because that's what you do when you're on lockdown, is take pictures of your hamster, and she was mad at me all day because I woke her up, which is fair. So I'm not gonna do that again.